Welcome to the Creation to Cash Flow podcast. On this podcast, we discuss strategies to help content creators and entrepreneurs improve your mindset so that you can achieve financial freedom and make the world a better place. We have a great episode for you today, but first, it is very important that we ask Michelle, how are you doing, Michelle?
I'm wonderful. I have no complaints. Lots of growth every week. I'm just learning and growing and enjoying life, and I just have nothing to complain about. How are you?
I couldn't agree more. I had a call yesterday with my spiritual coach, and we were kind of talking about this and about how it takes a lot to annoy me or piss me off or for me to see it as a problem. And I was telling him, I was like, I could get hit by a car and just be like, I needed to lay down, honestly. And he lost his mind. He was laughing so hard. And it was a nice moment because I truly do like what am I going to complain about?
Yeah.
Could things be better? Yeah, I guess, but I'm as happy as a clam.
Yep. Same. Also, I thought about your spiritual coach this morning because I was listening to a Mel Robbins YouTube video, and then I was listening to a sociopath's perspective video for class because I have to learn about impediments. Anyway, I was thinking about how important therapy is, and then I was like, you know, a spiritual coach, a life coach, a business coach, this is all kind of therapeutic. Like even our call with Brands Meet Creators right before this, it's like letting people get out of their shell, like giving them the permission to be who they are and take up the space that they take up. Like you aren't too much at all. And so it's just kind of like even this podcast is therapeutic. So anyway, I thought that was a revelation where I was like, therapy isn't one thing. It's not just like BetterHelp. It's like even friendships can be therapeutic.
Yeah, that's a really good realization because everyone thinks of therapy in that traditional sense of I have a therapist from one of those online websites that I meet with, and that can be quite useful. But I find more value in depending on the season of my life, having a coach that understands my mindset but helps me work towards my goals. So I have business coaches sometimes, but we're working on mindset. I have a spiritual coach right now, but we're obviously working on mindset and business and all things in the economics of Nick. His name is Kevin, and he's going to join us soon for an episode. Actually, he is profound. He lives a few minutes from Jose, if that tells you anything about the quality of a person that he is.
Oh my gosh. So does that mean you get to meet him in person when you go to Costa Rica?
Yes, well, I actually met him in person. I guess I'll tell that story next time we have him, but I met him in person in Costa Rica, and yeah, I'm going to see him and do some in-person work in about 2 weeks.
Oh, so exciting.
Yes, I'm really feeling good about it. But I'm also feeling really good about the fact that this is episode 99, and we have a really good one for our listeners today.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I can't believe it's episode 99. That is crazy.
I know, 99 weeks of creation to cash flow. And by the way, if you've been listening for all 99 weeks, if you've listened to all 99 episodes, I have a special place in my heart for you, unless you haven't actually dropped us a review and talked about how meaningful it's been. Because my favorite thing to do is check out the ratings and the reviews and the things that you guys are saying about the podcast. So if you've listened to all 99 episodes, but you haven't actually shared the love in the form of a review, I don't even know how much you're enjoying it. I'm actually thinking, maybe we just cancel the show because we just don't even know how much you guys love it unless you tell us in those reviews. So I don't know. Maybe we'll stick it out for another episode. We'll see.
You know what's funny? Well, it's really funny how you're like, I could be hit by a car and I'm fine. And then you go super extra with canceling the show. I know you're not being serious though. But right before this, Genesis was like, I wish I could rate more than one episode. You can only rate the show on Spotify. I'm curious if Apple Podcasts is different, but she was like, I was like, you should check out Apple, see if you can leave a review or rate it there if you want to. And then she said, oh, I could also go to your YouTube and follow and subscribe there. And I was like, yeah, even if you've left a review and you do want to just show the love, you can do it on those different platforms, not just on the one that you listen on. So just throwing that out there.
That's a really good tip. Yeah, we want to keep this show free and valuable for you guys, and we don't want to have to run ads and do things like that because we're trying to make sure that it's really worthwhile. I would much rather y'all just share the love and share the show with a friend. So anyway, let's get into our episode. We're talking about missions because there's a lot of people out there that might be feeling some existential crisis. I feel it sometimes too, but that just usually tells me that I'm out of alignment with my mission. What am I supposed to be doing in the world? So today we're talking about it. We're talking about what is your mission?
When you said that, I'm laughing because when you said missions, I was like, mission trips? Wait, is that what we're talking about? I think we're talking about purpose, which is the same thing. But it's just funny that you said missions because I've only ever registered missions with like, okay, we're going on a mission trip, we're going to Ethiopia. Like I just think it's funny that you used that word instead of like purpose, which I think is more universal.
Yeah, I was wondering. I was like, you're giving me a strange look. And did I get the wrong? Is this the right episode? Is this what we're talking about, right?
I mean,
Um,
I'd never know, so.
it's true. That's why I was like, I must have messed up bad. No, that is what we're talking about today, guys, and it's going to be a good one because one, I'm freshly off some new knowledge on this topic. I just finished the book Ikigai: The Japanese Secret to a Long and Happy Life. Really easy read. It was good. Um, there's definitely a certain type of person that would enjoy this book. It's essentially about living longer, but in order to live longer, there are a couple of boxes that you have to check. And I think most people are checking three of the boxes, but there's four. I had a call the other day with someone that I'm doing some private coaching with. It's going so wonderfully. And essentially, we were working through the fact that most people are just missing one thing. They might already know what they love, they might already know what they're good at, they might already know what can make them money. And those are like three of the four boxes to check to just know, like, I belong on this earth and I'm doing the right things. But the fourth one is, what does the world need? And the person I was working with, we were having that conversation and we were like, you're doing what you love, you're doing what you're good at, you're getting paid for it, but you're not solving a mission for the world. You're not helping the world. And that's why you feel this little gap, this hole of like, I don't know if I'm in the right place yet or if I'm doing all the right things. So we're going to unpack this on a much deeper level. Again, the book is called Ikigai. There's a great, if you're on YouTube, you will see there's a great illustration of these four things and how they come together. But anyway, Michelle, I'm going to kick it over to you. Do you feel like you know what the world needs and what you want to provide for the world or what your mission or purpose is?
I do. First, can you spell Ikigai for people that need to know how to spell that? Because that is not an easy word.
You're very much correct. It's a Japanese word, by the way. In English, we don't have a word for essentially the culmination of these four things, but in Japanese, the word for it is ikigai. Ikigai. It's one of Rob Dyrdek's favorite books, and he's a very wise entrepreneur. So that was what made me pick it up.
Okay, thank you for that. So, to answer your question, the world needs a lot of things. I'm not going to lie. The world needs a lot. The world needs a lot, which is why we each need to stay in our lane and provide what we can bring to the world. What was your other question? Because you asked what the world needs. I'm like, everything. But what was the other question?
What is Michelle's mission? Do you know what it is? Are you maybe half sure of it?
I feel like there are many things that I am built to do, which is so great that I have ADHD because I can thrive doing all these things. But one of the biggest things, and this has been since I was born, I mean, I've talked about this when I was like 4 years old and I was cheering my sister on who was afraid to do her back handspring. And I went out and showed her how to do it. And she was 8 and I was 4. And they were like, how is this 4-year-old doing a back handspring right now on the cheer floor? And I just feel like that since I was born has been my mission, is to empower people, to show people and inspire them. Like, look, you don't have to have everything figured out before you get started. And it's almost like I'm always growing and learning more about how I can do that, like the action steps. But many times it is just simply showing up as myself because I've actually gone from 0 to 100 whatever, and it wasn't real quick. It was very slow and it was beautiful, you know? And so I do feel like giving people the confidence and just the motivation to go after what they want, to go after what they're good at, to feel empowered to do it. Like those are my biggest things. And I know that's not like a very specific thing because it's going to be always subjective based on that person. But I feel like if there's anything I'm literally meant to do, it's to help others not be afraid to step into their purpose.
Ooh, that was so good. That was chilling. Your purpose, in short, yeah, is definitely to inspire people, essentially, because you are quite inspirational. And some of the things you do, I think it'd be fun to walk through these. Some of the things you do that inspire me, I would say the number one thing that comes to mind, because truly this is so hard, your consistency is so inspiring. Like, for example, we will go on a helicopter ride and a ferry ride, and Michelle will be literally seasick and get home and still do her 90-minute nighttime routine. Like, you don't miss on things that you're supposed to do. I mean, sure, like any human, like you might be like, oh, I was supposed to move the laundry to the dryer and I didn't have time because something happened. Like you're a human for sure, but like you are so inspiring in your lifestyle alone. Like it's not just like the amazing place that you live, right? Like you yourself are so inspiring, and I want to validate that that is absolutely your purpose and your mission.
Thanks, Nick. I was gonna say, how am I consistent? Because I feel like I'm such an inconsistent person. I'm all over the place, but you're right. There are things that I will not live a day without doing if I have control, like my treadmill. So, okay, I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, you're consistent in doing things that make you feel good. And
Yeah,
truly, that's what people need to be inspired to do more of, because, like, living in the US, most countries are not like this. Most of our listeners are in the US, though, so they will feel this. But, like, living in the US, usually you put yourself second. Like, your work comes first, other people come first, other things come first. But, like, Michelle, you're really good at always consistently doing the things that make you feel good and still getting your work done and still making sure that everything is running smoothly and that you're inspiring people. And it's really cool to see.
hmm. Thanks, Nick. I've never thought about it like that. I just don't feel like I'm that inspirational. But in acting class, I told you, my monologue where I am talking to my classmates, I have to be inspiring. That's my action. And it's so hard. It's hard to purposely be inspiring. But I need to learn it, obviously, for certain roles that I'm going to get casted as. But it's so funny that you're saying that because it's also like just showing up as me is somehow, and I'm not trying to be. That's the thing. It's like, what are you also good at that you're not trying? Like, Nick has so much he's good at, and he doesn't even have to try to be good at it. It is unfreaking real. But Nick, I want to hear what you think yours is.
So, all right, I'll go, but I'll put a bow on yours first. I will say that it's probably hard to play an inspiring person because, like you said, you're naturally inspiring, and like many inspirational people, they don't think they're inspiring. They're just like, I'm just me. But like people look up to you. A lot of people look up to you, and that's how you know that you're inspiring others. You might not feel it every day, and that's what's sad is like a lot of inspirational people don't know, so that's why I wanted to put on the show outline to remind you.
Hmm, thank you.
What's next? What did you ask me?
You're going to tell me your purpose. What do you
My
mean?
purpose, right? Okay.
Nicholas.
Um, my purpose. I feel like I'm mostly sure of this, to be honest. I don't know if I'm 100% sure because I feel like I'm a role player. Like I feel like I can fill lots of purposes, but I feel like my main purpose, the thing I'm best at, is helping people change the way they think so that they can unlock their potential and do whatever it is that they want to do. Like I feel like I'm best at getting people out of their own way, whether it's the fact that like they're self-conscious about making content on social media, they're struggling to lead their team within their business, they don't know how to confidently get on a sales call and sell something. Like I think my purpose is to help people change their thinking and just get out of their own way.
Wow. Which is honestly, our thoughts are everything. They shape everything. They can even shape our physical body. Like it shapes your entire life. So for your gift to be that is such a gift. Can you imagine if you were still working in construction and you weren't able to help people? Like you're changing lives out here, you know? And so it's so crazy how many people have life-changing purposes and missions, but they don't follow it. And you're here to help people do that, which I think is amazing. And you are so freaking good at helping people change their mindset.
It is my favorite thing to do. Like even I can recall being in middle school And we all know that like a middle school relationship like doesn't actually mean anything, but I remember like trying to coach my friends through their relationships in middle school. Like I've just always been the advice person, but the challenge was I was always out of alignment with that because I'm like I hate being in school, so I'm not really in a good inspired mood. And then I'm going to work as a civil engineer, which like I'm not helping people. I'm a computer monkey, and it just I was out of alignment with my mission, and I felt existential crisis at that time. I truly was like, not that I like don't want to be alive, like it's not that bad, but like I hate my life. I hate the way that my days look because I was getting paid. I was good at it. I had like a little bit of love for civil engineering, not the computer stuff, but like being out in the field on a construction site with like the Portuguese guys and like bumming a cigarette off of them at like during a break, like it was kind of fun. I'm not gonna lie, like it was okay. I was checking three of the boxes, sort of, sometimes two. If I was stuck in the office, I was good at it and I was getting paid for it. But I wasn't doing the what the world needs. And now I am, and I'm reaching lots of people. I need to get a little bit more active on my social media, I know. But currently, like the people I meant to coach are within my businesses and within my communities. But like, I'm checking all four boxes now: what you love, what the world needs, what you're good at, and what you can be paid for. So I wake up every day and I'm just so freaking happy and grateful. Kyra sent me a TikTok this morning and she was like, "This is you every day." And it was a TikTok of someone dancing and they were like, "I just had a smoothie." And they're just dancing around having the best day ever for no reason. And I was like, yeah, that is me. And I love it.
That's me too, which I think it's so funny because you and I came together over 99 weeks ago for a reason. I think that you and I both align on a lot of these mindset things. So it's so fun to hear you say that because it's like when we are in alignment with what we're supposed to do, we feel this joy and it's contagious, and you attract other people that feel that joy into your life, even if you live across the country from one another, you know? And so, yeah, that's fascinating. Also, that is again, so both of us to just be like so overjoyed about a freaking smoothie.
Right? It really is. So anyway, it's interesting to think about this because I want our listeners. I'm going to repeat these a lot during this episode because I know it's a lot to remember. I want our listeners to be thinking about it. Like, are you doing what you love? Are you doing what you're good at? Are you doing what you can be paid for? And are you doing what the world needs? Because if you're checking three of the four boxes, life is good. There are a lot of people out there that aren't checking a single box. Like they might have three jobs that they hate and they don't have any free time and they're totally out of alignment, but they're doing it so they can make their ends meet. So I totally get that. But if you could check all four boxes, like that's where you want to be. That's where life gets really good. So let's dive a little bit deeper into this, like what the world needs, because that seems to be the one that's always missing. People figure out how to make money online doing something they love. That's a lot of our listeners. But if you're not making the world a better place in some way, there's that small part of you, I'm sure, that's like, I just don't think I'm there yet. So let's talk about this, Michelle. How can someone figure out what the world needs and maybe how to bake that into what they do? It's a
What a
really hard question.
loaded
It's a
question.
really hard question.
Before I answer that, because you made me think of something. Also, wow, it's raining in Los Angeles right now. You made me think of something that I want to say before it goes away. ADHD brain. I want to tell people too that what your four things are, the what the world needs can change depending on, are you ready for more? So are you at that level where you're ready to take on a podcast? So I'm saying all this to say there was a point where I was checking off four boxes, and my fourth box of what the world needs was I needed to lead my team. So this was back when I had a job. I was a digital marketing director. I had a team, and there was like, I was thriving, right? Like I knew these were my people. I am leading this team. It's amazing. But there came a point where I was ready for a different level of what I could bring to the world. And I felt that existential crisis because I was holding myself back because I'm like, what? This used to work. I used to love this. What do you mean? Like, why do I suddenly feel like I'm not excited about this anymore? And it's because I was ready to level up. I now had the tools and the knowledge and the experience to level up, to share more and to be better for more people. But I was holding myself back because I I didn't understand, like, why am I suddenly why am I suddenly not excited, or why is this not working? And so it's almost like, even now, if all I did was be a digital marketing director, I would feel lost because there is more that I and only I can bring to the world through a podcast, through online presence, stuff like that. So it's like, if you don't know what the world needs, start small. What is it that the people around you need that you're good at, that you can provide them? Don't worry about starting a podcast or going big right now. You just need to focus on, like, what is around you that people need? What are people in your family, your friends, the community? What is it that they need? Start there, because that will lead you to the other things. Like, before my digital marketing job, I was literally a volunteer for the youth group at my local church. I was volunteering. That's what I could bring to the table, and that's what they needed. And so it's like, it all became growing over time. So you have to start small, again, not with what the world needs, but maybe your world. What does your world around you need?
That was really profound. I loved listening to that. I want to give another example of when I tried to give what I thought the world needed, but I wasn't ready. This is my second podcast, actually. In 2021, maybe 2022, started the Get Ahead with Nick podcast. I knew I wanted to share these lessons with the world, and I know the world needs them. I wasn't ready though, because I wasn't checking the other three boxes. I was doing what I love and what I'm good at. I wasn't really getting paid that much for it. I still had the full time job. So I was like not really in the place to solve the mission of what the world needs. So you can still find that podcast. It's still pretty fire. But it was me by myself. And again, it's called the Get Ahead with Nick podcast. I think there's 8 episodes out there. I was doing them kind of sporadically. I wasn't ready to give the world what they needed, because not only do you have to be checking the other three boxes, but like Michelle said, like a podcast, for example, is not always the solution, right? That's a big step and a big commitment. Like, I hope y'all realize what us doing 99 weeks of this podcast, not asking for a single dollar. We don't ask for anything other than like rates, reviews, and shares. Like, I hope y'all realize that's a crazy commitment. Like 99% of podcasts fail in under 50 episodes. Fail meaning they stop making them. And so not only is it like really, really important that you be checking those other three boxes, but you got to start small and help the people around you. Do work in your neighborhood or your community, and just start giving the world what it needs and see what you have the capacity for. Go ahead.
I was
I'm
gonna
good.
say,
Michelle's raising her hand.
I know, I'm literally like, hello, hi, teacher. Um, it's not, and I wanna reiterate, because when I say level up, I don't mean one is better than the other. Like you just said, our community, even my building, like, we need people that are committing to what they're supposed to do. And the thing is, if all we do is try to go big and get a podcast or whatever, the little things, like, the people in the community will never hear this podcast, but they will see whenever somebody's bringing coffee or somebody's like hosting a free event or a conference. People that are in this building are business owners. So there's a lot of like free conferences that they host in this building, which is super amazing. So it's like, you have to think about it as not what is the end goal all the time, or like what's the best thing, or what am I capable of in the future. You have to think about it like, what am I capable of now that I can do now with what I have now, and give that my all. And then whenever it's ready for you, or maybe somebody else can step into that role that you're doing, then you can expand, open up the horizons, let the doors open whenever they're supposed to, but you have to give your all to what you can give and not think about it as like only focusing on that end goal or that big goal or whatever. And also back to the episodes thing, we don't even monetize on social media. We hardly have any followers. We don't really promote it. We spend money on editors, the website, this hosting platform for the podcast. Like, we spend thousands a year on this podcast, and we've never made a single dollar from it, not 1 cent. And I think Nick and I are happy with that. We're fine with that. Like, we don't want the money, but we know we both have things to bring to the table, and we just get together and talk, and it's so, in my head, unstructured, but it makes sense. And I'm so grateful that we have listeners. So all that to say, don't think about it only about what can you do to make money as well. So it is all four of these things, but don't put so much emphasis on one of them, if that makes sense. Like, so many people put emphasis only on what can I do to make me money, and then everything else falls to the wayside. So it's like you have to be very intentional and just grateful, like dancing around with a smoothie. Like, I just wanted to reiterate all those things. I know that was kind of crazy, but yes, all that.
It was really good. And it's sad because I see a lot of like really noble projects fail because it's people trying to go from I'm not doing any of these things to I'm checking all four of these boxes at once, and that can work for sure. Like, chase your dreams. And if you listen to this podcast, probably going to be fine because, you're doing all the mindset work to succeed. But a lot of people fail because they're trying to do too many of these things at once. They're trying to do what they love, what they're good at, what they could be paid for, and what the world needs all at one time. And again, that can be done. You could start a company that's also charitable, surrounded by something you love and that you're really good at, and it can just take off all of a sudden. But typically, you need a lot of time and effort and energy to put into these things. And oftentimes, you don't get paid for them at first. So, like Michelle said, take things in bite sized pieces, but at least having this formula is really, really helpful because if you feel like something is missing in your life, this is a great place to look. And also, too, along the lines of what Michelle was saying, it doesn't, this is only kind of along them, I guess, but it's where I was going. It doesn't always have to be about helping people, too. Like, the world needs a lot of things. Like, what if you just went and cleaned up garbage in your neighborhood? Like, that, even still, checks the box and will make you feel good. I love doing little things like that. I love when I'm at the beach and I just see some garbage and I'm like, I'm just going to throw that out because what the world needs does not always, like, you don't always have to be solving this incurable disease. Like, sometimes it's something a lot smaller, but you're doing it and you're making the world a better place because you're cleaning up your community, because you put away the extra shopping cart in the Whole Foods parking lot. Like, the other day, I put like 3 shopping carts away and it was so cold out, but I just started going and I was like, I'm better than all these people. I feel better than all these people right now because I'm putting away these carts that they didn't. And like, it's not, I'm not actually better than these people. Maybe there was an emergency, who knows? But it just made me feel so freaking good. Like, it made me feel like I should rephrase that and say, I feel better than these people.
Yeah, I think that's so funny because whenever I was saying the example of the conferences, I was literally thinking about how every time I take Ollie to go down, if somebody's left their dog poop in the freaking dog's potty spot, I always pick it up. I don't know who keeps doing this, but I will always pick it up. If I'm at the Whole Foods thing and I have my little shopping cart and they're not all stacked neatly, I will go through and I will organize them. I turn the labels out when I'm walking through the aisles. Like, I do such little things like that. I don't even think about it, but it's funny because I'm like, oh yeah, people don't like put the shopping carts away if they have like, if they see that there's 3 that are blocking parking spots. Like, there's such little things, but the thing is when people aren't living in thriving mode, they aren't thinking about anyone but themselves. And so whenever more of us are thriving and we have all 4 of these things checked, we see past whatever we're thinking about because we're probably just happy and we're thinking about others now. And that's how we make the world a better place.
I'm right now just like a slideshow of things I've done lately where I made someone else feel really good is just playing in my head, um, including someone who worked at the Whole Foods downstairs from you that we're now on this Whole Foods topic. Um, I just love it. I just love doing things for other people, making the world a better place, cleaning up, turning the label out. Like it just feels so good and it makes me feel like I have purpose because I'm doing all of the things that I can. So if right now you're like, okay, that's something, but like I want to find a bigger purpose, like sure, maybe I'll go like clean up the litter or whatever. But if you want to find potentially a bigger purpose, why are you laughing at litter?
Because when you said litter, I was thinking a cat litter, and I was like, I don't have a cat, but you're talking about litter like on the beach, like actual litter. So anyway, when you said litter, I was like, cat litter? Like nobody's going in anyone else's apartment to clean the litter.
You could though. That's a mission right there potentially. But if you're struggling to find your mission, here's a great question to ask yourself. Two of them really. What would you work on if you had all the money in the world already? What would you do? And Michelle, since we're doing a podcast, I would love for you to answer that question. What would you do if you had all the
I
money in the
would
world?
literally be writing TV shows and acting and directing and producing. If I had all the money in the world, the literally the thing that I would be doing right now is recreating stories through acting, telling stories, be helping people like share their story by acting. That's what I would do. Like if money was nothing at all, I would be spending all my time storytelling visually, literally. Well, also because nothing what I do right now is really for money anyway, but like, you know, I am kind of already doing my passions. But yeah, I would also, Nick, if I had a ton of money to give, there are so many people around Los Angeles that have beautiful stories but don't have anyone to financially back them on creating these into movies or TV shows because the thing is we learn about each other's cultures and understand one another better through these forms of entertainment, and it also helps people that are going through something as well. So if I could fund and be a financial just giver for people that don't have the funds right now that want to pursue their passion, oh my god, I would be the happiest person alive. Like if I could do that, which is I really want to be wealthy one day so I can do that and just give and fund these projects that people have that all they need is the finances. Oh my God, I would be so excited and just, oh, yes. What about you?
Let's unpack that one first. That's a
I
lot of
figured you would say that.
that's a lot of that's a lot of joy. And I want you guys to think of that. Like that's why it's the proper question. What would you work on if you had all the money in the world? And like maybe you don't have all the money in the world. You probably don't. But like that right there, like Michelle just probably had a little bit of a realization of like, I actually could like take steps to doing that though before having all the money in the world. And like you already are like you're in acting school, like you're meeting people with these amazing stories. So like you're on that path right now. So it's pretty cool to hear that what you're doing is in alignment with it because my currently I'm doing what the world needs from me, but if I had all the money in the world, I'm going a completely different direction. It will still check the box for like what I love and what I'm good at, and I don't need to be paid because I have all the money in the world. I would, I guess it's kind of two things. One, I would try to get every single piece of plastic that is not like properly disposed of, like plastic on the side of the road, in the woods, national parks, beaches, like all the places where there's plastic and there shouldn't be, like water bottles and garbage and things like that. Cleanup effort. Like I'm paying someone in every neighborhood to clean every single thing. And I'm also going to go to war with all the companies that are making this problem worse, like Coca-Cola and Nestle and all of these companies that are just cranking out plastic bottles because it's cheap and they're just profit focused for their investors. I'm going to war with those companies. That's what I would do, because truly, like, all the garbage around is like a symptom, but it's not the root of the problem. So even if I spent all my money, all the world's money on this cleanup, in 20 years, like, we're still going to have the same problem if nothing changes. So that's what I would do.
I love that. Yeah.
It makes me really happy to think about everything just being clean. Like, one of the reasons that New York City is one of my least favorite places is because it's gross. And sorry to any listeners that are there. I know it's not your fault. Like, there's so many beautiful things about it, but like, on the ground level, it's dirty and it just needs a big cleanup. Like, there's enough people there that if everyone just picked up one cigarette butt from the floor, like, not the floor, like the ground outside, or one bottle or one thing, like, it could be a really beautiful, special place and it would smell better too. But like, I don't like going there because it makes me feel really sad. Like, it's gray, it's concrete, and there's garbage everywhere. I like going to Boston more because it feels similar, but Boston's cleaner feeling. Um, so that's like one of the reasons I don't like cities, and I like to be in nature. I like to be in places that are pristine, natural, undisturbed. Like, I love when you go to the beach and you see a sign that says, like, leave nothing but your footprints, because truly, like, that's how we should all be living our life every single day, every place we go. And it would make the world a better place. The world needs that right now. So that's the mission I would tackle, and it would feel really good. It feels good just to think about it. I want to go to the beach right now. I want to walk there because I can walk there, and I want to clean. But the beach town I live in is already really clean.
Wow. Yeah. Never been to New York, but you're not making it sound lovely. All I know is that when I go, which I'll probably go this year, when I go, I'm gonna be staying in a not ground floor place because I've heard about like cockroaches and stuff. But I get it. Like, people say bad things about LA, but it's my home and I love it so much. I love Los Angeles, but every time some family members come into town, they complain about the trash or like about the homelessness, and like, to me, I don't see any of it, so I get it. I get how, like, you see these things and they bother you. There's a reason they bother you. It's aligned with your purpose and your mission to clean up. And so it's like, to me, it doesn't bother me. To me, I'm like, oh, it tells a story. There's a story behind every piece of trash. Like, I think it's beautiful in the weirdest way, even though of course I like cleanliness. Like, duh. I don't want to live in the trash. I don't want to look at it. But like, when I do see it, I'm like, wow, there's like so much backstory and all of that. So I do think that the things that bother you are also a good way to find what is it that you should be doing. I did not even think I was going to say those words. That just came out of my mouth. But there you go. Like, what is it that is bothering you? It could be leading to what is exciting you. For me, I hate when people feel shut up, like they don't have a voice. That's in alignment with me wanting to help people find their voice and share who they are.
It's so funny, y'all. I promise that is just Michelle being inspirational. Like, she did not plan on saying that. Like many of the genius things that she says on here, like, it's just coming out, and we can't track down where it came from. But that's a really, really great way to figure out a potential business idea, the thing the world needs, what you can be paid for. Like, that could check the box for everything. What bothers you right now? What social or local issues are bothering you right now that you wish you could solve? Because chances are you probably can solve them. I mean, we can't do everything, right? Like, could I wage a war right now with like Nestle? Yeah, I don't really have like a ton of resources to do it. But for right now, the action step is just, when I see a bottle, throw it out. So like, you can still wage war on a really big issue, because then maybe I also come on here and talk about how I did that, and it inspires someone else, and then they pick up a bottle somewhere and they recycle it, and then someone else sees me doing it and then they thank me for it, and then I feel good and I talk about it more. And like, you can still make progress on these things no matter how small.
Yeah.
Another good place to look potentially is maybe the thing you were kind of hinting at this, right? Like you hate when people feel small and things like that. Maybe it's the thing that you're afraid to show or share. That's typically a thread worth pulling because for me, like, I could have just kept being a civil engineer. Like, I did not have to make a TikTok account and start posting self improvement advice. I can promise I was scared to share that. And I did it on my personal social media. So everyone in my life was like, what the fuck is Nick doing? He looks ridiculous. Like, making these awful videos because I was brand new to all of this. Like, it was not well received at first. And I was afraid to share it and show it. And I felt small and I felt like my voice didn't matter until it did. So, usually looking at the thing that you're afraid to talk about or show or share with the world, that is a thread worth pulling, and that might lead you right into what you're good at, what you love, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for.
Yeah, and I need to give a shout out to my amazing acting coach. Her name is Elaine Williams. She's at Baron Brown Studio in Santa Monica. She said the other day in class, in acting class, she said, the thing that we're afraid to show the most is what people actually want to see the most. So even in class, because it's very vulnerable to be an actress, like I'm an actress and I see TV shows and I don't think about all the things that they have to do and go through to get into this character. But I thought about it and I was like, that plays such a huge part in everything that we do, not even just in acting, but it's like the thing that we're afraid to show is what people want to see because there's a reason we're afraid of it because it means something. It has weight to it. It's not an empty thing. It's like there's a reason you don't want to show something. You don't want to share something. So it's like, oh, if you're afraid, then that's a good indication that maybe you should start showing it and sharing it and doing it because it's tied to something that's meaningful. It's tied to something that means something. So I highly recommend that you also write down what are your fears? Like, what is it that you care about? Because you can't be afraid of something if you don't care about it.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense because part of the fear is also, like, for me, it was like, is the world going to be accepting of this? Like, I know I have advice that can help the world, but I don't know what the world is going to think. And at first, like, I wasn't delivering it in a useful way because I was brand new to like editing and scripting a video and all these things. And I would post a video and my mom would be the only one that likes it. And that still happens. Shout out to mom.
Your
But
mom is amazing. She comments on my stuff, and
does
I
she?
love her so much.
She's a great supporter. And like sometimes that's all it takes is like you just need that one person to just validate like you're doing something awesome. And then like I remember every single person when I was like brand new to social media, like people in my real life that I would see out and I'm like low key embarrassed and hoping that we're not going to talk about this and they would come up and be like, "I see what you're doing and I really really like it and it's inspiring." And I do stuff like that too actually. Like I'm a manifester and I read that book and stuff and I'm like, "Oh my god, like I would have never had this moment or this connection with you if I didn't share that side of myself with the world. Like we wouldn't be as close." And I wouldn't even know you, Michelle. Like everything in life would be different if I didn't pull the thread of like, what am I afraid of? What am I afraid to share that I'm good at and that I love? Because I'll figure out one day how to get paid for it. That was a journey. That took some time. And that's where people get stuck. But if you've gotten to that part, or maybe you're like, I could sacrifice that part. I just want to make the world better. The money will come. Or the opposite. Like if the money is coming and you're doing the thing you're good at and you love, well, now it's on you to tie in what the world needs. So that's Ikigai for you.
Oh, such a good book. I need to read that immediately.
It's a pretty light read, I must say. Like for anyone who's like, I'm thinking about reading that. Again, it's mostly about living longer. Like even though those are parts of it, it's about living a longer life actually. A lot of it's like about like diet and things of that nature and people in the blue zones and people who live in on Okinawa, which is like an island in Japan where the people average like 109 years old at death or something crazy. So, it's a cool book. And I hope you guys enjoyed the lessons from it. If you did, if you laughed at this episode or got some value from it and you've been meaning to, share, rate it, subscribe, follow our social media accounts, take the steps. We're 99 episodes in. We pay a lot of money and we put in a lot of time and effort and energy to do this for you guys, and it's free. It's the only thing we ask. So please, that's really it. Go to creationtocashflow.com. Leave us a voice note if you want to drop an episode idea or a question so we could do an AYQ, answer your question episode for you. You can follow our Instagram and YouTube and watch these things unfold and get the subtle reminders throughout your day at Creation to Cash Flow. You can follow Michelle on her Instagram and social media at MichelleJH. That's Michelle with 2 L's, 4 E's, JH. And you can find me on my Instagram and TikTok and other places at Get Ahead with Nick. Anything else you want to throw out there, Michelle?
My YouTube is Michelle Henderson. It is not Michelle JH. That's the only thing, but it's fine. I don't know why. But I think I'm gonna keep Michelle Henderson because it's my name, you know. but yes, that's the only one that's different. I'm like, I should really figure that out. But whatever. If you want to follow my YouTube, I'm starting to post long form videos. Not anything like this though, so don't expect inspiration unless it's like home organizing or like going to Catalina Island. Like it's gonna be some random stuff.
Is the Catalina video live yet?
No, I haven't even gone through the 5 hours of footage I have.
Cool. Fair enough. All right. Well, with that new YouTube username, our outro is going to be a fucking mess, but we'll figure it out. We love you guys. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time.
Bye, guys.